Is there an effort to suppress the Trump turnout in the ever-tightening Minnesota race? What's going on there? Donald Trump Jr. is here in moments with the late-breaking development. Also, some breaking news out of the DOJ regarding what could be now an active investigation into Hunter Biden and his business associates. Is Joe involved? And why are we just learning about this 5 days from the election? And Raymond Arroyo was in Tampa, Florida today to speak with voters at the dueling Trump-Biden rallies. So what people on both sides will tell him will surprise you. But first, the great Trump recovery. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Only a few more shows before Tuesday. We have a special one on Sunday coming up, though, and I want you to have all the information you need and won't hear anywhere else before Election Day. First, as the Biden boosters want you freaking out about COVID case numbers, we should instead be celebrating tonight America's GDP number. That would not have happened were it not for the smart decisions made by President Trump. Now, today's third quarter GDP report, simply put, is astounding. 33.1% on an annualized basis. And remember, it wasn't so long ago that the experts had a different GDP in mind. Great Depression possible.
The unemployment rate is approaching Great Depression levels.
Numbers we haven't seen since the Great Depression. Will those jobs come back?
Have we gone past the R word recession to the D word depression?
The D word. Are these people ever right? No. And they never admit they were wrong either. They just do their best to downplay any good news.
That number, I mean, it's gangbusters, but you have to remember it's after a record crash.
Don't expect that growth to last at that pace.
We also got some new unemployment numbers today. That number is trending down. That's good news, but it's still incredibly high.
This was the easy part, though. And to Christine's point, there are some real obstacles lying ahead.
Well, that was the easy part, they were saying. What Trump did was the easy part. Really? Then why didn't Europe replicate this level of GDP growth? Now, if President Trump's stewardship of our economy was so obvious, why is it that every other country in the G7 is doing much worse? In fact, the Wall Street Journal survey of economists has us only down 3.6% for the year, markedly better than what the IMF estimates that every one of our European counterparts. Do not forget this chart. Look at it. Look at where we are. Look at where Italy is. Look at where even Germany is compared to us. You're not going to see that chart anywhere else on television. Now, remember, these countries all stayed down, locked down longer than we did, and they all do contact tracking and tracing. And they all have mask mandates. They blew up their economies with these long lockdowns, and yet their cases still exploded. And now most of them are in the process of locking down again. Complete lunacy. I mean, Lord knows how bad our third quarter GDP number would have been if we had stayed locked down all through the summer like Biden's experts preferred then and now.
So I think that in-person schooling are likely we're going to have to reconsider those particular parts of society right now in the midst of an out-of-control pandemic. Yes, I do. Certain parts of society that are currently open will likely have to close down for a period of time as this outbreak continues to worsen. I do think we're going to have to reconsider strategic lockdowns.
Anyone else find him creepy? In other words, under President Biden, prepare for the economic calamity that is happening in Europe. You can run, but you cannot hide from a virus. The president understands that a free nation of our size cannot play with people's livelihoods like this.
We're never going to lock down again. We understood the disease, and now we're open for business. Joe Biden's plan is to deliver punishing lockdowns. There will be no school, no graduations, no weddings, no Thanksgivings, no Christmases, no 4th of Julys. There will be nothing.
Now, the left here and abroad is using the tragedy of this pandemic to turn over political decision-making to unelected health experts who have zero accountability to you. And regardless of how wrong they've been in model after model, They want us to have no choice in the matter whenever they decide to put the brakes on freedom. So if your kids ask you why Tuesday matters, well, tell them. Because our freedom matters. Because without freedom, what are we anyway? Millions of serfs waiting to receive new rules from nameless, faceless bureaucrats? Always worried that you're going to be ratted out by government apparatchiks monitoring how many cars are parked in your driveway at any given time? That's not America. That's the Soviet Union circa 1977. I'll never forget around 3 a.m. or so on election night, standing about 20 feet from the stage when President Trump delivered these words.
I've gotten to know our country so well, tremendous potential. It's going to be a beautiful thing. Every single American will have the opportunity to realize his or her fullest potential. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer.
Forgotten, not more. And he meant it. Along with tax cuts and deregulation, he cracked down on illegal immigration and took on the trade abuses of China. Now, that part was resisted by big business, which is addicted to cheap labor, while President Trump kept his focus on the American worker. Now, look at Biden. Old Joe has been buckling under pressure to big money interests for so long, he probably doesn't even remember his first principles. Now he just does what he's told. In 1973, he probably didn't ever think he would sell out the blue-collar workers in Scranton after being pressured by the outsourcers. I'm sure those same industries thought they could get President Trump to sell out too.
Somebody went to Wall Street. You're the one that takes all the money from Wall Street. I don't take it. You have raised a lot of money, tremendous amounts of money. And every time you raise money, deals are made, Joe. I could call the heads of Wall Street, the heads of every company in America, but I don't want to do that because it puts me in a bad position.
It sure does. And Wall Street is not pouring money into the Biden campaign because he's going to be difficult to influence. They're pouring money into the Biden campaign because they know he's an easy mark. This is something you need to keep in mind before Tuesday. President Trump has enormous courage. Most men would have sold out long ago just to make things easier on themselves. But he didn't. And our regular working class heroes know it, as even Democrat Debbie Dingell had to concede.
Some of the auto workers who I thought were going to go back to Joe Biden were very clear with me last night. They were voting for President Trump. You want to know what the auto worker said to me last night? He said, I'm tired of your Democratic friends. They look down on me.
They do look down on you. Of course, those workers can't write big campaign checks, though. But the president did the right thing, which ended up increasing median household income by more than $6,000. Amazing. Which brings us all back to Joe's running mate, COVID. President Trump, having seen what a media superstar Dr. Fauci had become, he could have just let Fauci decide everything, from when it's safe to get on a train to when your kid can play t-ball again. The media would have loved that, all those daily COVID briefings, all the talk of shared sacrifice, as they headed off to the Hamptons to blow off steam on the weekend. But thank God Trump knew that listening to just one type of expert would be irresponsible and, yes, dangerous. In Florida today, Biden claims that the president endangered the country by not listening to the experts. No, Joe. Trump likely saved us by resisting their unproven strategies that somehow, some way, always lead to more power for them and less freedom for us.